So whether you want to help someone try to understand what you're saying, whether you want to gain someone's trust quickly, or you want to just be more entertaining, the most powerful way to do all of that, by far, is through storytelling. It's not much of a secret that we fall in love with movies and books and people online because we can relate to a part of their story that they tell. If we couldn't relate, then we wouldn't feel pulled towards it. It gives a sense of hope that if we keep reading or listening or following, then maybe they can help us achieve our goals or overcome the problems that we're having, or even just create a continual feeling that they're just like us. So what if I told you that the feeling that you get from your favorite characters or authors or people, you could create that feeling for others about you? By sharing stories, we pull back the curtain and reveal the parts of us that are unique, special, and relatable. It's not about what we do, it's about who we are. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I want to build an audience, I want to build trust with people, become a figure that others can look up to, I'm going to share with you how you can create your story, which is going to be the very thing that draws people to you like a magnet. But first, why is your story important? Well, the first reason is it's unique. It's the one thing that you have that no one else out there has. Second, it's relatable. Although your story is unique and the situations that you have experienced, no one else experienced, all of these things that we go through all come back down to these common themes that we do all share and we do all face. So by sharing your personal experience, there's going to be so many people out there who can really relate to that, to how that felt. Number 3, it's credible. All of the things that you've experienced, all of the things that you have gone through created an experience that now you know what not to do or what to do next. And so you become the person that can help people to overcome that because you've been there. Number 4, it's easy. Building your story takes time. But when you give it that time and when you sit there and you start writing and you start doing the things that I'm going to help you do, then you'll realize that it is quite an easy exercise once the ball starts rolling. And finally, it's inspiring. There are so many things that you would have achieved that other people are going to feel super inspired by. It could be something small or it could be something massive. But there are going to be parts of your story that draw people in because they want to achieve that too. So I wrote this down the other day. People don't need more information to get to where they want to go. They need more examples to make them see that they're not alone. There's an abundance of information out there online. Anyone can access just about any answer they want in a fraction of a second. But what's missing is the people and the stories of the people who have gone out and done that. And so rather than focusing on just sharing more information, when we share our story, there is so much more power in that because it helps people see that they aren't the only ones going through the thing that they're going through. So let's get into the building of the story. The one goal of your story is to share how you got to where you are today. Now, if we look at this in big context, this is kind of your life story. But we can also then look at breaking that down into smaller stories of, how you overcame a health challenge or how you overcame a business adversity or having no money to making lots of money. There's the big story that we tell, and then there's also all of the small stories that all kind of bring the big story together. But ultimately, the point of any story is to help people understand how you got somewhere, how you got from A to B. So number 1 is spend an hour going through your phone and social media. Now, this can be a long exercise. I tell my clients to spend, 90 minutes, but this can take hours. It took me half a day just to go through my phone and a couple of hard drives. But this was a really great experience because it started unlocking a lot of these memories and a lot of the parts of my story that are important, but that I've forgotten. Pulling all of this content together and having it in one central place is an opportunity to create new ideas, but it's also great to include in content for B-roll and to help paint the picture of the story that you're sharing. Number 2, ask yourself, where did it all begin? Now, this is a really interesting question because I was sitting down with a friend the other day and we were talking about their story, and he asked me, where do you start? When it comes to building your story, where do you start? And a couple of minutes later, after we'd been speaking, he said, what's really interesting is that as soon as I asked that question, I knew exactly where my story started. And so this idea of where did it all begin probably does spark a moment for you, a catalytic moment of, in terms of, where I am now, the big moment where everything changed that put me on this path to get to where I am was this moment, or was this, this day or this experience. And for me, I just remember the time where I picked up my dad's camera and I was playing around with it and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And something just in me was just really curious. I used to live on a farm and I went down and I just started taking photos. I had the camera on auto. I'd go down and we had cows and we had animals and we had a little boat that I'd take out on the dam, and I just started shooting, and it just opened up this whole new world for me where all of a sudden I wanted to be going out to the beaches, and then I wanted to be traveling, and my dream was to open a gallery and become a landscape photographer full time. And then I moved into filmmaking, and then that naturally progressed into making money from filmmaking and photography, and I started my business, and then I burnt out, and then I fell into the world of podcasting just kind of on the side. And then, over time, all of these experiences started building and building and building to a place where now I create content. And I have an agency that is all around podcasting, and it brings together all of these passions that I built over time and curiosities of personal development and conversations and human psychology and photography and video. And all of a sudden, all of these things have really come together to create this thing that is my story. And so asking the question, where did it all begin, is such a powerful question. Number 3, write out the milestones of your life in chronological order, both good and bad. So this is where we go back to, where it all began, or even before if you want, and whether you want to break it down in months or just events or years, and start to list out all of the key milestones, all the points where there were perceived failures, or the points where there were adversities, the points where there were big achievements, even, moments where someone said something that changed your trajectory. Start to list out all of these milestones, and this will build over time. This doesn't have to be, in one sitting, but the core of it can be done in, sitting down for a couple of hours and just getting really clear on what was the path. And number 4, begin to construct the narrative of your journey relevant to where you're going. Now, this is a really interesting point because it's easy to tell all these stories, and, we've all got all different kinds of stories. But the point of this story is to really paint a picture of where you've come from, where you are now, and then where you're going. And so when I tell the story of, picking up my dad's camera and then naturally falling in love with photography and then progressing into film and then dipping my toes in podcasting and having all of these passions that are blended together, I've got tons of different stories that I can tell about, nights out, time with friends, going out for swims in the ocean, travel experiences that I had. There are so many different things that I can pull on. But the point of this story is to keep it relevant to where it is that you're going. And the reason that I share my story like that is because there was a point for me where I had to make a change, is because it helps create depth to where I've come from. Having a passion for photography ever since I was 14 years old, literally half of my life as I record this, helps paint this picture of, I've been in this world for a long time. And so that builds trust with people. If I said I came from a corporate background and then 2 months ago I decided, I'm just going to start a podcast and start a podcast agency, well, it doesn't really create a lot of depth in the experience that I have. And so by me telling that story, it helps people understand that, I've been in this game for a long, long time, and there is a lot of experience and a lot of wisdom that lies there where I now get to help people tell their story. So those are the 4 steps. Spend an hour or longer going through your phone and your social media and gather all that content. And if you have a hard drive, put the content on a hard drive, create a Google Drive, a cloud-based drive, store it on your computer. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of content, so it might take up all the space, but just spend that time going through and digging up all that content. And number 2 is to ask yourself, where did it all begin? That one key question of what was the period or the moment or the time where everything shifted. Number 3, write out the milestones of your life in chronological order. And number 4, begin to construct the narrative of your journey relative to where you're going. I hope this episode helped. If you loved it, I would love if you could subscribe or share this episode with someone who might want to tell their story as well, but might need a little bit of a hand. This process for me has been built over time, and it's been really transformative for my own journey in understanding my own story. And so I hope that you took something away from this, and I'll see you in the next one.